Coming live from your parents' basement, the first issue of Cocktails and Comics with your hosts, Ryan Buckley, Ian O'Neill, and Sean Markle.
That's pretty good, except the title. Aren't we going to be Comics and Cocktails?
I thought that's what he said.
Coming to you live from... All right, enough of the lounge music. Let's get to the cocktails.
Absolutely. Okay. So, first of all, thank you for listening to our first inaugural issue. It's going to be a little bit rough, but who says rough isn't fun?
Right. We're starting with a time paradox. No one's listening right now.
Exactly.
Maybe they never will.
The point of this podcast is to talk about comics and have a few drinks with it. So, I think the first thing we should do is say what we're drinking today. So, what are we drinking today, Ryan?
I got this. So, today we're drinking a Human Torch. Clinky clink. Chin chin, guys. So we thought because this is our inaugural first effort here, issue 0, our origin story, we'd go to an origin story. So Fantastic Four was the first real Marvel comic that set off the Silver Age, featuring character the Human Torch, who was also an older Marvel, one of the very first characters when they were called Timely, I believe.
I think so. Although they changed him slightly because he was
that was the android.
Toro, the
one,
android.
Right?
Yeah.
Human Torch.
Yeah, he was like just going around melting Nazis.
Which, I mean, he did his service.
They were asking for it. Not the Human Torch, there was Johnny Storm.
Johnny Storm of the Human Torch, which is what our cocktail's name
of a recent fantastic film.
Yeah. It's weird how...
have you seen it? We could talk about it.
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it is really weird how one of the most successful comic books that ushered in the Silver Age of comics translates to the worst film, which could be considered the golden age of comic book movies. Yeah. They just can't seem to get the Fantastic Four right.
Right. There are 3.
Yeah, arguably films because there's...
Which was the best one? Galactus Cloud, Fantastic Four?
Oh, that was horrible. It's
the first one, maybe?
Yeah, the first one.
If you had to pick one, I guess I would go the first one.
Yeah.
All right, enough of that nonsense. Let's talk about what's in the drink.
Yeah.
It's 1 part cinnamon whiskey and 2 parts Dr. Pepper. And it's all delicious.
And we're rating this cocktail out of 4. What are we giving it?
A Fantastic Four.
A Fantastic Four it is. All right.
I feel like we should
you set it up and you knocked them down.
Barker Beauty this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so each week we're going to start with a cocktail, and the recipe of the cocktail is going to be on our blog. We'll get to how you can reach us and all that stuff later. And then we're going to segue into talking about comic book review. So what are we normally going to do, Ian?
Well, we will talk about the comics that came out that week that we liked the most. I believe was the plan.
Yeah. We probably won't read every book that comes out in the week, but we're going to read the main ones that are important to you and truthfully are important to us.
Right.
So after that, we will talk about comic book news, what's new in the industry, what exciting teasers are being thrown in our face that
films.
Titillate us with whatever is coming our way.
Games, maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pretty much just general geek news.
Yeah, news like that. And we're also going to have some guests lined up. We have already contacted some people we're going to interview. We're going to talk to comic book retailers, comic book documentarians.
But most importantly, what we're going to mainly be doing is talking about comic books in a place where we can talk about comic books, because I don't know if it's the social norm to be able to sit there and be like, I think Daredevil could beat up Wolverine, and get into that truthful, honest discussion.
That's true, actually.
Yeah, we'll have those heated debates.
This is our safe place.
Yeah.
So you don't have to.
Exactly. So I think the first thing we should do is talk about a book that came out this week that we really enjoyed.
And that book is?
Oh, you're talking to me?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to introduce it. Yeah, we're talking about Batman 44.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Batman 44 by Scott Snyder and Jock.
Yeah, co-written with Brian Azzarello.
Awesome.
And art by Jock. And so this book was pretty much amazing.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was really, really good. And I think the one thing that I really was impressed by this book, because I've been a fan of Snyder's run on Batman since when he was doing Detective with Dick Grayson as Batman. But what Snyder was able to do with Jock is take a Batman story and just by changing the artist, give it a completely different tone, even if it had the same writer.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Greg Capullo's been nailing it, but seeing Jock take over, and I just love seeing like the cover alone. I have all of those detectives except for the famous Joker cover, which is super hard to find and way overpriced. But like the cover is amazing. Yeah, Jock's like nailing it. And the coloring, does he always have the same guy doing that? Like the,
Most of Jock's stuff kind of looks similar.
how do you
not in
pronounce
a
that
bad
last
way.
name? Lowridge?
Yeah, and apologies to him, obviously, because that's a horrible pronunciation. But what's going on in Batman right now is actually Bruce Wayne has given up the mantle, so to speak. He's still in the book, but
Well, in this book, he is Bruce Wayne.
exactly. But
Yeah.
Commissioner Gordon has taken over from Batman in
Yeah.
the current run. This is a flashback episode that deals with one of the villains that is being portrayed in the comics right now. A
Yeah,
new villain
Mr.
called Mr. Bloom.
Mr. Bloom.
Who's
He was
really
in-
creepy.
And he's a new villain. And
Snyder creation.
a successful one, I think. It's hard to create new
Yeah.
heroes and villains. And this one's really piqued my interest for sure.
It's true. Like, I would say what has been like the most successful new creation within the past like 20 years for like characters, because there's not really that many when you like really break it down.
Or 20 years?
Like
Okay,
Deadpool,
20 years
Deadpool
is-
fits in 20
Oh,
years.
God.
Yeah.
They're printing money with him. And
It's true, but
How long are we into our very first episode? First Deadpool appearance.
I mean, it fits the.
I was
Fits
thinking
the
Deadpool
question.
2, actually.
yeah.
Yeah. Rocket Raccoon, maybe? How old is that guy? I don't even know.
I think he was around in the 70s. That seems
Yeah.
like someone made up this raccoon talks and he was on acid.
In any event, the latest creation of the team of Guardians of the Galaxy
That's true.
is less than 20 years old, I'm pretty sure.
But I would say, like, in terms of the Batman Rogue Gallery, like, you can even talk to a non-comic book fan, and chances are they are going to be able to name more than just one Batman villain. Like, you have the Joker, obviously, but then you have the Penguin and the Riddler and Mr. Freeze. These
Yeah.
are all kind of iconic villains.
Yeah.
But being able to create a new villain that is intriguing enough that I want to keep reading more is very impressive. And I think Snyder's doing a great job.
Yeah, he's touched on those iconic villains so much, too, in his recent run. Like, he just came out of that, was it Endgame?
Yep.
And the way that he dealt with the Joker in that. And then also the Batman Eternal?
Yep.
It was like a whole bunch of different, like, with,
Which, again, kind of introduced
Hush.
a new villain. Like, I think...
Oh, Hush. There you go.
Yeah.
Although I guess it technically turned out to not be a new villain.
Yeah, sort of. But then also, well, Hush was kind of still a new villain. But even like the Court of Owls, maybe just Snyder is
Yeah,
really
Court
good.
of
Court
Owls.
of Owls, that was good too.
Yeah, Snyder's just really good at creating new ways to look at Batman through like these different villains. And I think what this issue, Batman 44, did, it kind of dealt with a lot of hot topics because it's not necessarily about Batman punching someone. It's about Batman getting back to like the detective roots of him trying to solve this murder. And it deals with that history of Gotham so well.
Yeah, the street stuff, like the street level stuff about like that store and the violence and everything. And it felt at times to me a little reminiscent of like Year One,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found.
I would agree with that.
You hit the nail on the head for me, Sean, with the detective aspect. Like he's out there being a detective, which is what Batman is sold as, but not always doing.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's the best thing about Batman too, right? Like anyone from a sorority girl to a hardcore Dungeons and Dragons player to a football quarterback or something like that can wear a Batman shirt.
Sometimes
and
they can
still
all be the
into it.
same thing.
Yeah, I'm not discriminating at all, but I do want to be politically correct. But Batman is just, he means so much to so many people, but everyone's interpretation is different. So many people can look at the Christopher Nolan films and be like, oh, that's my Batman. But like to me personally, my Batman is the Bruce Timm animated series Batman. Like that's
Oh,
what
yeah.
I grew up with.
Yeah.
But I
Can you do the
love
voice?
this. No, I can't. I wish.
I wish.
Oh, if I could do that, I would have so many better
I am
friends
the
than you
knight.
guys. But and getting Batman back to like this detective route of like this poor kid in Gotham is murdered and what happens.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And that's another thing too. The story was good besides the detective aspect. I was surprised in areas. I didn't see all the twists coming.
Yeah.
Which with comics happens a lot.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah. And even though we know Mr. Bloom's giving out powers, like I didn't expect that to be.
Yeah, when it tied into Man-Bat and Kirk Langstrom and even with like the Venom like references, like it was just a small subtle nod, but like that's the shit that like makes comic books great. Just to be like, oh, you're talking to me, and yeah, of course, I already know all this stuff about Gotham. I already know that this is a fully vibrant world that exists in my brain.
Do you think it was weird, like the timing, or was it good time? There's a couple of stories or issues in to the Mr. Bloom story, and then we kind of pause. I liked it actually because things were. I thought it started off slow. Just when it started getting really interesting, they kind of put the brakes on and they go backwards, introduce another artist. And now I'm just more like, I can't wait for 45 now. Now that I know a little bit more about this villain and his origins. And
I like when they play around with
powers
the timeline and stuff. But when you were saying like more so timing, like I don't know if you had anything else to say about that, Ian, but the timing for the book itself, because it kind of deals with socially relevant things going on. I guess spoilers for people who haven't read it yet, but it deals with a cop shooting an unarmed black teenager, which is very irrelevant in the news and things like that. And that's what I love about comics is that it, because of like its monthly formula, like it can reflect society in such a different way. And it can happen so quickly in the art form. And I think that's what the medium of comic books are like. People are really picking up on like all these social constructs. Like what happens if Batman lived in Detroit kind of situations or like was
kinda
around.
does.
Yeah.
I heard they were going to do that same storyline in Squirrel Girl, but when they found out that Batman was doing it, they changed their mind.
Yeah, probably
You know what?
probably a good decision.
I hate Squirrel Girl. I'm coming out
Bold
against
move.
squirrels. So,
But that's because you're sexist.
Yeah, less serious, but the timing for me, I thought it was good timing. Take a little break from Gordon. I don't dislike the Gordon Batman, but
I do.
I think a lot of people do. So I think it's kind of smart on their end to, like you said, put the brakes on it and give us a little taste of Bruce Wayne again. And we also just got sort of in a previous issue 43. Our first really good look at Mr. Bloom and what's going on with him.
Yeah.
So to go back to sort of now more of an origin with him kind of makes sense. And I think I like the flow of it.
To get back to Gordon, like I think that I don't mind him taking on the role. And I love the idea that he's like kind of off the radar. He's kind of being secretive because he's got the cop persona when he's in the suit. I like him better like out of that mechanized suit when he has that other kind of under bat armor.
yeah.
With a really cool logo.
Yeah.
And
I think the coolest thing that they're doing with the heavy metal storyline, which I think is that's what it's called or something along those lines, is the idea of the bat signal shining down.
yeah.
It's like the whole like heavy
It's pretty
armor,
cool.
like new Batman that's owned by this corporation because Gotham will always need a Batman. It has this bat symbol that flashes down instead of up. So I think that's playing with that kind of dynamic, and it's really interesting to see.
I like Pennyworth's daughter. What's her first name?
Julia.
Julia.
Okay,
Yeah,
there we
yeah.
go.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
Penny too.
Yeah.
Is that what you
And
mean?
it's cool that like Alfred is still missing an arm. So it shows that like there are repercussions for like previous arcs. Cause like that is one of like the downfalls of comics sometimes is that unless something is truly like game changing, it will just kind of revert back to the same time.
Yeah, like only somebody dying can really.
Well, even that's not really what do you guys, how do you feel about the amnesia aspect?
What, like with Bruce?
With Bruce.
No, the way they explained it was great about the chemical coming into his cracked skull and then
Yeah.
just like erasing those parts.
Yeah.
It's kind of the opposite of Morrison's Batman, where like his backup is really the Batman persona, and
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne is really the real, like the mask that he wears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's turning that around. But I'm waiting for the Grant Morrison moment to happen where you realize that like no, he really is Batman,
is,
and
yeah.
he's denying his.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be a moment in the comic that's going to be amazing where he reclaims the mantle, and it's going to be
Yeah.
fantastic.
I don't know if I would prefer if he was just wanted to retire or not. The amnesia storyline you see all the time.
Yeah.
But I also don't know if I would buy it.
But doesn't he
If he
kind of?
just-
It's not really amnesia. Doesn't he remember, and he doesn't want that, or
It's
kinda-
it's not really amnesia, but I mean, it's
He's
kinda-
aware
it's
that
pretty
he
much
was
amnesia.
Batman, but was
Yeah.
just like, no, this isn't me right now. I'm not Batman. I'm Bruce Wayne. But just to play devil's advocate, you don't read a lot of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
How often do you read like Bruce Wayne just hanging out doing something? Like I'm more interested in to see like who Bruce Wayne is as opposed to Batman is right now. And I think that's what the Gordon arc can do by not killing Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
It provides room for the story, and there's clearly story there. And like this character's so old now, like what hasn't been done, but Snyder is continuing to give it like a fresh take, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah, good point.
I look forward to Batman each month.
Yeah, we're gonna probably have to thumb wrestle over who gets to have Batman as their pick of the week, like the way Snyder's been knocking it out of the park.
Well, you guys pretty much are just like DC sucks. I'm all Marvel.
Come
so
on,
I
man,
think
that's
I
not-
get.
I don't say that.
I don't specifically say that.
Okay, moving on to our next book. I think
Yeah, enough with DC. Let's move on to.
So you had read a book about Hydra.
Oh yeah, Hank Johnson, Agent of Hydra.
Hank Johnson, Agent of Hydra.
Yeah, that was a great book because we were going to talk about like the Secret Wars crossovers.
Yep.
And how like none of them cross over with Secret Wars.
It's true.
Pretty much. But there's
That's
some
every
amazing
tie-in of all time.
This is a whole bunch of like what ifs and
Yeah.
like multiverse kind of mashups.
Now-
There's been some good stuff.
I fully agree with you. Like nothing really. It sucks reading all these tie-ins because it doesn't have anything to do with the overall story of Secret Wars, which is Marvel's big event right now. And I think it's awesome. Like I love Secret Wars. I look forward to each book, but all these tie-ins, they're able to play it off with these kind of what if universes just because of the idea of Secret Wars and this battle world and stuff
Yeah, it's
like
cool.
that. So I can kind of give them a little bit credit, but at the same time, like I keep reading all these stories and sometimes I'm just like, okay, like that was it. Like the execution was
Yeah, and you know that there's going to be a moment where there's like a reset button and they're just pulling like a new 52 or like a flashpoint,
Yeah.
and then all the stuff that's happening inevitably is going to be kind of pointless. Like
But if the book itself is entertaining enough and
Right.
well written, then it doesn't matter if it doesn't really tie into the main story for me as long as I'm enjoying it.
and I think
I wish that wasn't a one shot. It would have been
Yeah.
maybe
So-
3 issues.
Hank Johnson, Agent of Hydra, it's kind of like a day-to-day life of
Yeah.
just one of the faceless grunts of Hydra.
Yeah, it had the tone of Hawkeye. It had that sort of modern, like snappy dialogue. It's him dealing with being like, kicked in the face by Nick Fury and one of his friends dying, and then they go to the funeral and MODOK is there, and
Yeah.
it's amazing. And then he's being like sexually harassed by Madame Hydra, and they're arguing over who's going to take the kids to like softball, and they play softball against like Shield agents. Like it's.
It's true.
Not
and,
against
like,
AIM. I feel like that would be their.
Well, he was going to get a job at AIM, and there's like a joke about the hats, and it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Like it's so funny.
the fact that AIM pays more, but like he's like, I don't want to
You
work
wanna
for
wear the
those
suit.
horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody hates each other.
And like I do think like it was kind of like just a funny book, but I think it would like I do want to know more about like who gets recruited to Hydra and like
Yeah.
what makes them be like, oh, you know what, like everything's wrong in the world. And actually in Secret Warriors, Jonathan Hickman's first like Marvel book, he does kind
Loved
of
it.
talk about that where they just recruit college kids to join Hydra because
Well, who wants to join an organization whose like motto is basically like, well, you're probably gonna get killed, but then somebody else will step up to take your place.
Exactly.
Like, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a good book and I highly recommend reading it. You?
Yeah, definitely. It's a one shot. You should pick it up. Let me ask you guys then, what of the Secret Wars crossovers have resonated with you right now?
I'm really enjoying Thor's. I think Sean agrees.
Who said it was like Hill Street Blues with hammers?
I
one
did
of you
not
guys?
say
I think
that.
that was you. I think
Even
you
though you
said
haven't
that
read
and
it?
it's great.
Maybe I read that on the internet.
Probably.
Maybe. Yeah, it's sort of a detective Thor story. I guess we just like detectives
That's true.
this week.
But I think the best part is that every cop in this is Thor. And like Thor is always just kind of this egomaniac. Well, not egomaniac, but very like cocky, like I'm the greatest. So you have an entire police force of people being like, I'm the greatest, so I'm definitely going to lead. And they're like, wait a second, I'm the greatest. I'm definitely going to lead. And that's kind of entertaining.
Yeah, and it's fun because you have like different iterations of Thors that we've seen in different continuities, plus just like random people that they decide to make.
there been a
Thor.
frog Thor?
There's
Yeah.
a frog Thor.
There's definitely a frog Thor.
Beta Ray Bill's there.
Yeah.
There's like Ultimate Thor.
Lady Thors.
Yeah.
All kinds of Thors.
Groot Thor.
Groot Thor.
Sweet.
So basically, I don't know how much do we want to spoil issues when we talk about them.
Spoil them away.
Yeah. Go nuts.
Yeah, we should
so-
probably say that, right? That we're going to spoiler the books we talk about.
If you haven't
so-
read your favorite comic books by Thursday and they come out on Wednesday, what's wrong with you?
So there's a murder that's happening, and then they slowly realize that all of the victims of the serial killer are actually the same person, and they put it together that it's Jane Foster, and yeah, that's
And of course,
kind of
because
the cliffhanger it's sort of
and
left
there's
on.
like a Loki character who's kind of this crazy person, and
and there's a Thor who is from the I think it's the 616 Thor.
yeah, the unworthy.
Yeah,
Thor.
and so he doesn't have a hammer in the universe, but he's now helping the other
Ultimate Thor.
Ultimate Thor, who was the lead on the invest. This is such a weird.
Yeah, Ultimate Thor, good costume.
Yeah. So he's helping the Ultimate Thor, who is the lead on the investigation of the murders, but now has been kicked out of the Thor Corps. And they're kind of being now rogue police officers, but they're Thors. I don't know. It's just funny and cool.
Yeah. Now, did you have?
Just making another Human Torch here.
Yeah. Here you go. I'm gonna say my favorite Secret Wars book so far, because I can't say Thor's, is going to be Siege. I really like Siege. I didn't think I necessarily was going to go into it, but I think because it ties into the greater Secret Wars just a little bit more, even though it's not over yet, it's been fun to read. I really like Abigail Brand as a character. I think if you're talking about especially this kind of movement for it, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that because I have to be politically correct, but like there's all these kind of new women characters and female characters coming out that are like these strong empowered characters. But I think Abigail Brand, even though she was created by Joss Whedon, which is kind of a giveaway, has been this character for a while, and like I do want to see her in more things.
Yeah, Siege. I tried to read the first one. It didn't capture my imagination. So if you could sell me on it, I would.
Okay.
No, it's great. Like I think, what's the creative team? So it's Kieran Gillen writing.
Yep. Who wrote for Abigail Brand in his Sword miniseries?
Yeah, Sword. He wrote Uncanny X-Men. He was canceled twice because he wrote it at 554 when they stopped it, and then he wrote the 20-issue run that they rebooted when they did like the Marvel Now.
Yeah.
So he's twice been canceled as an Uncanny writer.
Yep.
Wow.
But he's great. Like he's got that really modern kind of quirky tongue in cheek, and we were talking about it earlier about like all the puns around people's names.
It's true.
And they're kind of he gets away with it somehow.
Yeah,
You know,
because
some of them are like a little cutesy, like Nick the Fury and the Endless Summers.
and like the idea is that Abigail Brand is in charge of guarding this wall that protects all the little battle world like provinces from the Marvel zombies, the Ultron armies, and everything like that. That's kind of in the Badlands, so to speak. So you get to see like this defense mount that's over and over again, and you kind of realize that the wall itself is Ben Grimm. The
Oh,
Thing.
really? That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the only book where they have the wall as being the thing? What does he say at one part? He goes,
Well, it's really the
I
only
can't
one.
hang on much longer. Hurry or soon it'll be crumbling time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, it's just like little shit like that where you're like, okay, that's cute, but it's still fun. And like,
Kang is a douche.
yeah, you get Kang the Conqueror who's just like, I should be leading. And she's like, no, you shouldn't. So it kind of has that, I almost want to say the dynamic of like Malcolm Reynolds and Jane from Firefly.
Okay.
Where it's just like, you think you should be in charge, but you shouldn't.
He writes smart women characters. Great. Leah from his
Yep.
Journey to Mystery run is in there as well.
Yep.
And who's with Magic, right?
Yep.
She's great in it.
Yeah. And
I thought that the first issue was amazing, and the second issue was just like the same as the first, and it was kind of. And then the third issue like was
and they play around
fantastic.
and like not just because Kang is in it, but they play around with timelines so well. So like all throughout this book, you kind of see this countdown coming to like how many days until the wall falls, how many days till the wall falls, and then there's this giant battle. And again, spoilers. The one team is victorious, like the good guys, like
things are
they're
looking
defend the
good.
wall.
Nice.
And then all of a sudden, Thanos walks in, and not just like any battle world Thanos, like the
It draws
Thanos.
big, massive.
Yeah,
and
and
he's
he-
like the 616.
So he's just
Time,
like, hey, I want to give myself up, like arrest me.
Yeah.
And then at the very last page, it says 1 day until the wall crumbles. And then you're like, yes, Thanos is going to do something awesome and it's going to be sweet. And I can't wait to not kiss girls because this is awesome.
Those weird robots that Gillen created in his Uncanny run that look like if Silver Surfer had sex with his board and it was born, and it's called Unit, right?
Actually, those come from Sword, but yeah.
But and there was like typos all through the last
Yep.
issue, which drove me crazy. Like, they kept
Really?
writing Unite,
Yeah.
Seriously?
unless that's a new thing.
Maybe
Because
it's
there's two
it's
of
all
them.
because
Battle
there's
World
two
thing.
of them.
That's how you
Because there's
spell.
two of them.
Maybe that's on purpose.
Yeah,
There you go.
it probably is.
Oh, he's so smart. He
It
thought
didn't
he
just slip through
He
Reddit.
tricked me into thinking he messed up. Or you get a
guys-
no prize.
All right, you might have sold me on it. How much do you think it's going to tie in though, or do you think it's just going to be like the wall falls in the main story, and that's just about as
Yeah,
is that as related the tie-ins are going to get? Do you think?
probably.
No, I don't know. I think the wall falling is going to be a significant event in the whole storyline because it's going to create like Doom's going to have to go to war and betray him, like his real identity. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
It's going to like cause because the rule of the baronies in the battle world is that you have to stay like within your own borders, except for Old Man Logan who's doing whatever the fuck he wants.
Well, yeah,
Because he's Wolverine.
which is another great tie-in.
Yeah, Old Man Logan, also fantastic.
Yeah, so Bendis writing that and Andrea Sorrentino doing his incredible artwork that he's known for. And I find that the one thing I didn't like about Sorrentino before is he always used a super limited color palette, like when he was doing I, Vampire and Arrow for DC. But in this, it's way more varied. And I'm excited. And he's going to continue. We know now that that's going to be one of the books that continue from Marvel in their all new, all different fall lineup. And it's going to be written by,
Jeff Lemire.
our local boy, Jeff Lemire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who's pretty much writing every book that I'm interested in right now.
Which I'm totally cool with.
But
Yeah, he's great.
I think that's a great segue to talk about upcoming. We have the Marvel previews book with us, and I think we're pretty much after Secret Wars.
Yeah.
What's going to come
I don't know
out?
where the cameras are.
What's going to come out is a whole bunch of relaunch books. So I know if you want to talk about any books that you're excited about, I think I'll grab the one that I'm most excited about and take it first, which is Daredevil by Charles Soule. Because Charles Soule used to be actual lawyer.
Yeah, I knew he was going to be a lawyer.
And I think it's cool that they're bringing Daredevil back to New York. Like, I love Mark Waid's run on Daredevil, which we'll talk about in a second. But he's bringing Daredevil back to New York. He's going to have his secret identity again. And it's just going to be some good, solid Daredevil writing.
Is he going to be practicing law? How are they going to do that?
Comic books. It doesn't matter. Make a deal with the devil. There'll be a way. And I don't care because I love Daredevil in New York working just to protect a small neighborhood. I think like a lot of great writers can just do so many great things with Daredevil because he is kind of the Batman of Marvel, but he doesn't have the baggage that comes with Batman. So you can put him through the ringer. You can kill off his supporting cast, and it's not like killing off Alfred or something like that. You can put this guy through hell and watch him continue on. And even though he has like this Catholic upbringing too, which is still like plays with that Catholic guilt, I just think he's one of the most interesting characters in comics today.
I'm pretty sure Moon Knight is the Batman of the Marvel Universe, Sean. I don't know what you're talking about.
I actually just read Moon Knight,
Really?
the Ellis run. Yeah,
The Ellis run was supposed to be great.
It was pretty cool.
All right.
Is he still crazy? Like, does he have multiple personalities still?
Yeah, he does. It's kind of like Moon Knight was just cool because it was just like, oh, like this guy could be a superhero or he could be schizophrenic.
Or is it all happening in his head?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
All right.
I'm into it.
I've never really read that much Daredevil, so maybe this will be a jumping on point for me.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll try to get me to read it because you've tried to get me to read Daredevil for pretty much as long as I've been reading
It's
comics.
true.
So we'll see if it finally works.
It's true. I'm almost a Jehovah's Witness of Murdoch.
Yeah,
Daredevil.
I'm actually pretty new to Daredevil. I got into Daredevil issue 4 of the Mark Waid run when all the crazy reviews were like all over the internet and
Yep.
they were winning every Eisner. And so I managed to pick up, I got 2 different copies of the first issue and I got number 2 and number 3 in second printings, but I have every other issue to the end of the run. And it was great. Like just so consistently good.
It was fun.
And I'm cheating by looking at his name. Sam Nee's art was amazing. And who was the guy that did the art that was similar to Sam Nee, the very
I want to say
cartoony style?
Ramos.
We'll
We'll look that
have
up.
to look that up. Yeah, but I like his art almost better because he was way more clever with the use of like visually representing like how Daredevil's senses were working. Like there's a scene where him and Foggy are crossing the street in New York, and there's like all these like little panels of like around like some like dog crap on the floor or somebody's music playing, and
Yeah.
it was just like, man, that's what his life must be like. Like he hears all that, he's aware of all this while he's paying attention to this like really serious conversation. But
Absolutely. So,
wasn't
Ian, what are you looking forward to most in the Marvel relaunch?
There's so many. I can't wait for them to come out because I'm not reading a lot of books right now. If I had to pick one, I'm going to go with Doctor Strange.
good choice.
I haven't read a lot of Doctor Strange, so I'm excited.
To be fair, there hasn't been a lot of Doctor Strange to
There hasn't.
read.
There's
I
gonna
mean,
be
he's
a
been
movie
on-
next year, right?
Exactly. So he's on a new event. He was on a New Avengers
Yep.
team before.
Yep.
That's like where most of my knowledge of him comes from. So I'm excited to read a Doctor Strange book. I'm excited for the movie, so it'll be a great introduction, and I'm sure that's probably why they put Jason Aaron on it. I really loved what he did with Thor, so I'm really looking forward to what he's going to do with Doctor Strange.
Yeah, me too. I love that book. And when we were talking and prepping for the podcast, believe it or not, we prepped for this. I thought
sure
that
you
him
can
and
tell.
Bachelot never worked together, but they did. They worked together on Wolverine and the X-Men.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he never did more than like 3 or 4 issues in a row. I don't know if he's like a slow artist, which I could totally see because his work is so hyper detailed.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
probably one of my top 3 comic book artists of all time. I loved his
Wow.
work during Age of Apocalypse. I loved his early stuff on Generation X. He's so good. But I'm hoping that they use that same kind of rotating team of artists that were
Yeah.
involved in that before. There's another guy whose name I can't remember that was in Generation. Wolverine and the X-Men. Who's
So
great.
is there rotating our team?
Well, they
for it?
kind of went
Or-
back and forth.
okay. Because if he takes a long time, I would be a little worried. I don't like delays.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
No, I don't think the book will be
Yeah.
delayed. They'll probably, have multiple
I
artists.
could see Doctor Strange try to become a new flagship character.
Yeah.
because
Well, they're going to try to promote him with the movie. I don't know how much that actually helps the movies.
I
'cause
think it
everyone
more
who
helps the comics than anything.
reads the comics is
Yeah,
going to know
that's
the movies
true.
anyways. But if it's a good reason to try to revamp the character, and
Yeah.
they got me interested. So
Well, he was a really big character leading up to the events that
In Secret
started
Wars.
Secret
Oh,
Wars,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And in Secret Wars as well. Like,
Well, he was in New Avengers, even though he was
In the
on one
Illuminati.
of the Bendis New Avengers teams,
Yeah.
which is, I think, what you're talking about
Yeah.
before. But he was on the New Avengers book.
and he tried to sell his soul to stop the
Oh,
incursion
he
events.
didn't try. He
Well, he-
sure sold his soul, but he did not stop the incursions.
Yeah, it was him and Doom at the end against the Beyonders.
Yeah.
And then, there are a lot of spoilers in this podcast. So,
yeah. And in
I'm
Secret
just going to
Wars,
say right now, then he dies.
he played an awesome role in Secret Wars.
I did
so.
not see that coming, by the way. Like, I know we're going a bit of a tangent here, but
Yeah.
did you think that he was going to die?
I didn't. I thought like he teleported everyone else away. And
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
like he would join them or something like that.
Yeah, he was going to betray them. He was going to be the good guy.
Yeah.
The conscience.
Yeah. So I was pretty surprised, and that's always
Hickman's amazing.
that's always good. So-
Yeah, great choice on Doctor Strange. Just him holding a giant axe on the cover. It looks
right?
insane.
Which reminds me of
Thor.
the Thor book as well.
Yeah.
So,
Did you read Aaron's run on Thor?
Yeah, it was great. And
Asad Ribic.
the I can't remember who the artist was on that now.
Well, it's not over yet.
It was
No.
Asad. But I mean, like when it was still like his first run before the renumbering
yeah,
with Isad. I think his name is Isad.
yeah,
Ribic.
and that art was fantastic. So if he's got a great artist on Doctor Strange, it'll really help sell it. I'm sure.
Yeah, amazing.
Now, Ryan, what are you most looking forward to?
Every X-Men related book. No,
There's so many.
I was gonna go there.
You're still
Yeah.
80s.
No, I don't know. I want Jeff Lemire from reading some interviews online. He's a huge X-Men fan, and they asked him what his favorite runs were, and they were really similar to my own. Like he liked Morrison, he liked the Claremont Burn. Then he said, "Oh, pretty much all of that '80s stuff." And I guess he just recently he was reading more of like the Claremont and who's the artist I'm thinking of after John Romita Jr.
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So like I'm excited for that. And I think his book's called Extraordinary X-Men. That's going to be the flagship title. And it's sort of them dealing with, if you've ever been on the internet, it's kind of leaked that something happens between mutants and Inhumans, and something with the Terrigen Mist stops them from being able to have kids. And I don't know, a lot of people on the internet saying it's kind of bad, like they're just doing the whole House of M thing and the extinction event of when Genosha was blown up and the Grant Morrison run and everything. But I kind of like it, even though they've been to that well before. The tension that it creates, I think we've seen like the mutant hysteria and that it just takes it to another level, and I like it.
See, and I saw a few preview pages, and there was people at a protest like drawing like waving signs that say like "No more muties, no more mpox," and I always thought that was like, why hadn't anyone written that mutants carry a disease or something that can kill humans? Because I never understood the differentiation between like, oh, someone can be like, I love Spider-Man, but I hate the mutants. I never understood the hate for the mutants, because realistically, like they are just superheroes.
Well, they had the legacy virus, but that was created by strife only to be passed between mutants. But then Liliana died. Didn't Moira McTaggart die from that?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Everyone dies in the X-Men. Everyone comes back. It's just a thing that happens.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I think
Definitely. I'm also
I'm
looking
just
forward
curious.
to it. I'm a big Lemire fanboy, so all his books I'll be reading. That one, he's also doing Old Man Logan, and he has a couple others, but I can't think of
Yeah,
them
he has
right now.
tons. Jeff Lemire fans are in for a treat because he's writing a lot.
Yeah.
he's got to fill a vacuum, because there are some guys that are leaving Marvel to focus only on creator owned. So one of those guys is Rick Remender, who's done great work at Marvel. Like I loved his Uncanny Avengers, and his Uncanny X-Force was incredible. I have like every issue of that, and that's it.
But isn't that kind of like, I get that Secret Wars is supposed to kind of relaunch this whole new Marvel, all new, all different. But I love that they're getting rid of a lot of the old talent and bringing in new
For
talent.
sure.
Because
As
I
long
think
as the
that's
new
what keeps
talent's
it
good.
fresh. But that's the thing, like they'll bring people in and see like who really is a rising star and who's like successful, and give them more. Like that's how kind of the Marvel architecture works.
Yep.
And I think they're killing it. Like I think it's punk rock to kind of be like,
Are you happy that Hickman's leaving?
no, but Hickman's taking a break. And to be honest, my head can't handle too much more Hickman, because I love Hickman stuff, but like Hickman is best when he's writing a long, drawn out plot. Like even if
That's all he ever does.
exactly,
Yeah.
and I get it. Maybe he needs a break. So I'll give
Have
him
you
a
read
break.
all of his Fantastic Four run?
I have, and the Future Foundation.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because it even then ties into Secret Wars. Like, I think I came up to you at work one day and everyone else gave me weird looks. I'm like, the reason why there's no more Dooms and Reed Richards in Battle World is because in Fantastic Four, the Council of Reeds all died and they collected all the Dooms and Doctor Doom killed them. And I was like, oh, so this ties into that. And like making those little
Yeah, you shouldn't have walked up to me in the bathroom. That's why.
Yeah, listen. Yeah, we got some weird looks, but
Well, there's 2 reads,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, the Maker.
Yeah,
the-
which is awesome.
I don't know enough about the whole Ultimate Universe. So
Yeah.
if your listeners who don't know what that is, like Marvel decided to breathe new life and they invited some of their newer, more exciting creators. It was like Mark Miller and Brian Michael Bendis, right? And
Yep.
so they created sort of alternate versions of their main heroes. So Spider-Man was the main one,
Yeah.
and the Avengers, which they call the Ultimates.
Yep.
Yeah.
And those are the last 2 universes left in their multiverse that collide in the final incursion event that's destroying all of creation.
Yep.
And that's what created Secret Wars. Like, that's the beginning of it. So there's characters from each universe kicking around right now.
And so this will also be the, I believe, actual final end of the Ultimate Universe. They had so many ultimatums and like
They've been trying to reboot because
But the Ultimates is a book that's coming out. And it looks like Galactus
it's-
is on the team.
yeah, that was just
awesome.
weird. But it's going to be set in like everything's set in one world.
Yeah.
As opposed to having the 616 and the Ultimate Universe. They tried to end the Ultimate Universe or revamp it like 4 or 5 times, something
Yeah.
like that. But this is the final nail in the coffin for
Did
it.
you read Hickman's Ultimates run?
Yes, I did because
think
I
so.
read it going into Secret Wars actually.
Yeah, I
Because
heard it's
it
amazing. I
deals
never
with-
read it.
So what happens with Ultimate Fantastic Four is Reed Richards ends up being a villain. And so the Fantastic Four has to, and like the Ultimates have to come in together. I think it's an Ultimate End where he's revealed to be like this mastermind villain. And in Hickman's universe, he creates this entire city state that's full of all these future children and stuff like that. So it's pretty much if you take Reed Richards, the smartest man in the universe, and have him turn into a villain. And that's what it's about, and it's phenomenal. It's a really good, interesting like take on everything, and that kind of leads into Secret Wars. I would highly recommend reading it. But yeah,
Yeah, and Ultimate Spider-Man, I read a little of that, like with Miles Morales as Spider-Man. He's going to be in the continuing universe.
Yes, so we're gonna have multiple.
So there's so many
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man books. Pass me that book. Like, we got to find this out.
There is a lot of
because
Spider-Man.
It's crazy.
Well, so there's going to be 2 Spider-Men, Peter Parker and Miles Morales, and then on top of that, there's a couple Spider-Women.
People
and
love
a
Gwen.
Spider-Gwen, and there's Silk something.
There's Silk. There's
Well,
still
then there's
Spider-Woman.
the
Venom.
Spider-Woman. There's
Space Knight, Venom Space Knight.
Spider-Pig, I think, is on one because they still have the Spider. They have a Spider-Verse book.
Peter Porker, this
Peter Porker,
spectacular
yeah.
Spider-Ham, is in Web Warriors.
Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah.
There's just so
Silk,
many.
Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman.
Yep, and she's pregnant.
pregnant.
She's pregnant. Do you think any of those are going to get canceled?
Yeah,
Which ones?
Carnage.
I think Carnage is going to get canceled.
yeah.
Although Carnage is supposed to be like a horror book, which I think is kind of cool. I could see Spider-Woman or Silk being canceled because I've read both Spider-Woman and Silk, and so
the
far
same.
they're the same thing. Yeah,
Spider-Baby.
Exactly. It's pretty much a spider baby. They're just like, what adjective or what nouns can we put spider in front of? And
I don't
see
think
what
she's
happens.
pregnant. I think this is a red herring. She was chewing gum, and it's just going to burst, and spiders are going to come out.
I would like just to see the superhero that got fat, like just the superhero that gave up.
It's just a little bloated that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some. I don't think that's going to last.
Scarlet Witch.
No,
James
how
Robinson
can it?
writing it though.
Yeah, I think Scarlet Witch could be cool, but I don't really care to read it.
So Jason Aaron and Russell Dodderman are continuing on Mighty Thor. Is that the artist you're trying to think of? Russell Dodderman. He's
Maybe.
the new one on the new arc.
It's like,
He took over when it became like Girl Thor.
No, I was thinking of the one before that.
That's the East Side Readers.
Yeah.
Then. That is.
Amadeus.
Yeah,
Cho.
that was Amadeus
I
Cho.
told
as
you.
the
They're
new
talking about
totally
the
It's
Hulk
awesome.
right now.
totally awesome. Hulk.
I gotta like
you
remember
can't
to
just point at
doing a
things you're
podcast.
recording.
Yeah, I'm just pointing.
Luckily, I was here to film
I'm
it.
emoting.
So yeah, I'm pretty excited about all the Marvel books coming out because it's always
Yep.
fun just to be like, oh, there's a whole bunch of new like jumping off points. I can read all these, figure out what I like, and see what excels. And that's what I think comics can do. They can throw a
Yeah.
whole bunch of stuff at the wall, see what sticks, and whatever happens, happens.
I'm weak. Like the new Avengers book, I think is going to be great. It's going to be a change in tone from the heavy long form science fiction of Hickman, because Mark Waid's writing it.
Yep.
Right after he's done with Daredevil, and it looks like they're gonna have it's probably gonna be a twice a month book because they got 2 solid artists on here, Adam Kubert and Mahmoud Asrar.
Yep.
All right.
And it's an interesting team. We got the Sam Wilson, Captain America, Iron Man, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Miss Marvel, The Vision, and Thor, like the
Lady
female
Thor.
Lady Thor. Yeah.
All right. So
Cool.
now, do you guys have any books coming up that you're really looking forward to? Obviously, we're looking forward to whenever the new issue of Secret Wars ships.
Yeah.
I think just the ones that we just talked about.
Yeah. I will say, if we're going to just talk about books that I have been enjoying, I'm really enjoying Dark Side War in Justice League,
Oh yeah,
or Dark Seed War, however you...
I say Dark Side.
Yeah, Dark Side. I think it's really cool. I like when the new gods can be brought in and done really well. I think Mr. Miracle is an awesome character, and I wish he was used in more things. And I think Jeff Johns is actually kind of like on top of his game. He's
We
kind
just
of-
we just haven't been talking about DC enough for you. That's what that
Yeah,
was.
exactly.
Well, we haven't talked about Image enough, to be honest, because there's so many
That's very
great
true.
Image books.
Yeah.
I would say that. And recently, I switched from a lot of Image books. I was buying them monthly, and I trade waiting, and I'm at that awkward moment where I'm done buying the single issues with a couple of them. So, like Black Science, I'm waiting for the next trade to come out so I can read that. Low also, I loved the first 5 or 6 issues in that first story arc, so I'm waiting for the next trade to come out there. What else was there that I was reading?
I have Morning Glories.
Yeah.
What was the one that I told you to read that you didn't end up liking, but I still liked? I can't even remember what it's called now.
Breaking Dawn.
No,
No, that's a Twilight
that's
movie.
a Twilight book.
Manifest Destiny.
Yeah,
Chew. There's so many good Image
Chew,
books
that's
right
a great
now.
one.
You guys are both reading Saga, right? Do you read Saga?
Saga's phenomenal. Oh, Brian K. Vaughan.
Are you reading We Stand on Guard?
Yes, the 2 issues that have come out.
There's only 2. There's 3 out now?
three. Three came
Issue
out?
3. I think
Oh.
maybe even 4.
Did it
I think
come
you
out
guys
this
are
week?
behind.
There's no way there's 4 of them.
I thought
Maybe
there was only
3.
2.
No, there's definitely 3.
We both think there's 2, so I think you might be wrong.
No,
Yeah.
I'm never wrong. That's my superpower. And I'm pretty sure there's 3.
Unless it
So,
just came out this week.
We Stand on Guard is about Canada going to war with the United States, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's been really cool. It's Brian K. Vaughan, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's different than I thought it would be, but it's still been really good.
Yeah.
It's more after the wars happened, and there's a resistance fighter group in Canada called the 2-4s.
Yep.
Because why not? They're really leaning into a lot of the puns.
If you can think of a pun about Canada, it's probably in this
It's
book.
been in it. It kind of got off. The first issue was maybe a little bit of a slow start, in my opinion, but
That's because it was a guy
The start
apologizing
was
for a war.
he looked out his window and people were being blown up, and then in front of his family, his face is melted up.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
slow start's
How
the
much
wrong-
quicker you want it to start?
Slow start might be the wrong word.
I know what you mean. After
yeah.
it jumps into the future, then it's
Yeah.
kind of a slow burn.
But 2 is good, and apparently I have to check out 3.
Yeah.
I love the way
Yeah.
Canada's portrayed in comic books. Like we're the type of nation that brainwash people and fill their skeleton with metal and turn them into like assassins. And
But we also got Alpha Flight.
and then
which
we send hey, that's our metal, so give
Yeah.
it back. We're gonna send our superpowered team to get it back.
yeah.
I like Alpha Flight.
I feel as though like I have to because I'm Canadian, but
I've
You
read
know what?
very
I don't
little
know
Alpha
enough about
Flight.
Alpha Flight to say whether
Yeah,
or not I like them. The only
exactly.
thing I remember reading is way back in the day the X-Men Alpha Flight crossover, and it was set in it was in Asgard. Well, not really Asgard, but Loki had come to Earth and turned part of the world into Asgard.
comic books.
It was
Yeah.
so great.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, it was New Mutants. It was really good.
So do we do our book of the or required reading? What's that? Say?
Yeah. So
yeah, we can just maybe talk about what we're gonna do going forward. Yeah, why don't you explain what the required reading is?
So every week we will be assigning reading, so to speak, for our podcast listeners. We're going to be reading these books. We're going to be talking about these books. You might as well read along and kind of figure out what we're talking about. Yeah.
So our first one is going to be Secret Wars, not the Jonathan Hickman one that's happening now because it's not coming out fast enough.
No.
But the one from 1985, I think it was, written by Jim Shooter,
845, I think.
and it was
yeah.
basically 12-issue limited series that was created by basically a toy manufacturer wanted to make action figures, so they wanted a comic book that just had all of them in at once. So Jim Shooter had this. He was the editor-in-chief at the time, and he came up with the idea of this book where they would be teleported to a Battle World planet by this like omniscient all powerful being called the Beyonder, and then just to see what would happen. And I have the trade. Like, they re-released it right before Secret Wars, and I haven't read it since I was probably 14. I remember it being amazing back then, and I have a
How do you
feeling
feel
it's
now?
not going to stand up to the test of time.
Yeah.
We're not going to do Secret
we're not
Wars
doing it now?
2
Okay.
as like that. The best part of Secret Wars 2 is when Spider-Man taught the Beyonder how to poop.
I mean,
I haven't read Secret Wars 2, but now I want to.
Yeah, I
well,
reread that.
I need to learn how to poop, so that covers 2 of my like checks.
Yeah, you just need to meet Spider-Man. He'll
Yeah.
hook you up.
Yeah.
So we're going to read that. So if you want to read it and then listen to what we have to say about it.
And then each week we will also be doing, actually maybe monthly, we'll be doing a versus issue where we will each pick one thing to debate and argue about and see who comes out on top. So for instance, we could say, pick someone of the X-Men who's going to be the best wingman at a bar, or who your favorite writer is out of Grant Morrison, Neil Gaiman, Alan Moore, those type of things. So if you ever have any suggestions, please let us know.
Yeah, I think what we're going to try to do is to have those versus contests be held by people who are listening. And so then we'll just read the best argument. So we'll let you know what the argument's going to be. Then we'll read your responses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty much what we have for Comics and Cocktails. Thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. And until next week,
No, see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. See you then.
take care.